Just when we thought the Oklahoma Sooners game was going to be the biggest game of the season, in come the defending Big 12 champion Kansas State Wildcats rolling into DKR Stadium with a message to send to everybody. Don't forget about us. Just a few weeks ago, this game seemed to be of little importance after Kansas State dropped 2 losses in Missouri and Oklahoma State. 2 games that many people believe that they should have won. Fast forward 1 month later, the Wildcats are surging on a 3-game win streak, coming into DKR with upset on their mind. Meanwhile, the Longhorns are standing at 7-1, having suffered their lone loss to rival Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. And more importantly, they are coming into this game without their star quarterback in Quinn Ewers. So it will be in the hands of Malik Murphy to keep the Horns' Big 12 title hopes alive and perhaps their dream of a college football playoff berth. Can the Longhorns take care of business tomorrow morning and move one step closer to the Big 12 summit? Or will the Kansas State Wildcats come in and remind everybody why they are the defending Big 12 champions? Stick around to hear my formula for the Longhorns' success and why I think the Horns are just built differently this year. It's the MoBettaSports College Football Show, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So first things first, we've got to get to know the team that we are playing. Who are the Kansas State Wildcats? Well, for starters, they are a very well-coached football team. Their head coach, Chris Klieman, is no stranger to winning. He is no stranger to championships, as he was a 4-time national champion at Division II North Dakota State before taking over for Bill Snyder at Kansas State in 2019. This team is going to be hard-nosed and very disciplined. They're going to be extremely physical, and while they may not be the most athletic team you've ever seen, they are 100% going to play with the belief that they can win this football game. With that being said, who are some of the key players to look out for in this Kansas State game? Let's go ahead and start off looking at the offensive side of the ball. As is true with any team in the country, the most important position on the field is going to be their quarterback. And they have an experienced veteran in Will Howard coming in to start at quarterback for the Wildcats. He was their quarterback when they went on their Big 12 championship run last year, so he is no stranger to winning either. He will be splitting reps with freshman phenom Avery Johnson, someone who has just recently really been implemented into the K-State Wildcats offense, and he fits that offensive system absolutely perfectly. While Will Howard is not as gifted of a runner, he's not the greatest athlete you're going to find on the field, he is very good on his feet and he can make plays down the field. One of the ways Kansas State will look to offset the deficiencies of Will Howard in the pass game is by allowing Avery Johnson to get the ball in his hands and make explosive plays with his legs. He is a speed demon, a track star at the quarterback position, and if he can get in the open field, he can really do damage with his legs. Not only that, but he is a very good passer of the football. Now, he doesn't have the experience that Will Howard does have. However, he does have big playability and some things that he can do that really supersede the skill set of Will Howard. Kansas State will be trying to exploit Texas's defense with Avery Johnson. Next up, someone we got to take a look at, their running back, DJ Gidding. He's not the type of running back to make 10 people miss. He's not going to shake you out of your shoes. He is a north and south physical runner, and if he gets into the open field, he does have the speed to break away and take runs to the house. So he's going to have to be someone that Texas really keys on. He's someone that the Kansas State offense relies heavily on. As we know, this K-State offense is a run first, run dominant, run all day type of offense. The more that they can run the football, the better off they are going to be. So DJ Giddings is going to be fed the ball early and often. He's going to have to be somebody that the Longhorns really key in on throughout the game. And while the Wildcats don't have extremely explosive talent in the wide receiver group, they do have real experience, especially when it comes to 6th-year senior Phillip Brooks. One thing about Phillip Brooks, he has seen Texas's defense, especially and specifically PK's defense for the last 3 years already. So he is very well accustomed to what Texas likes to run defensively. He's going to be somebody that we really have to look out for. He's a big playmaker down the field. Now, while he doesn't have the speed to take you over the top, he understands how to exploit defensive zones and sit in coverage and make plays down the field, keep the chains moving. Phillip Brooks is their leading receiver. He's their best downfield threat, and he is going to be somebody that the Texas secondary keys in on throughout the entirety of the game. Complementing their wide receiver group, they do have a couple of very, very good tight ends. One thing that we also know about Kansas State, they love to use their tight ends. They'll use 2, 3. They would probably put 4 tight ends out on the field if they could figure out how to make that work. They're averaging about 6'4", 250 pounds. The group is really large, and they are athletic and can make plays. And most importantly, they are great in the run blocking game. With that being said, their most valuable tight end at this point in the season is going to be number 34, Ben Sinnott. He's a very athletic H-type tight end. He can line up in the backfield. He can line up on the line of scrimmage. He can block very well, release downfield, and make plays downfield and get you first downs all day long if you do not keep your eyes on him. With all that being said, the most important and most dominant part of Kansas State's entire team is going to be their offensive line. These guys are genuinely massive, massive, massive human beings. Cooper Beebe, number 50, their left guard, is 6'4" tall, 330 pounds, and he is 100% a high-round NFL draft talent. He is a freight train in the run game. If they can get their guards pulling in this power run scheme, it can be a very, very long day for Texas defensively. They have a couple of massive humans. Cooper Beebe is their most talented for sure. KT Leviston comes in at 6'5", 330 pounds. Hadley Panzer comes in at 6'4", 300 pounds. These are big humans on that O-line, and they look to establish the line of scrimmage and move their feet across the ball. They want to punch you in the mouth at the line of scrimmage and open up gaps in that defense, getting up to the second level so they can break their running backs up for big, huge gains. With that being said, I think it's pretty obvious what their offensive identity is. They are a power run football team, and they do it in a unique way. For one, they like to spread you out. So one thing that's unique about the offense is they are a power run, but a power spread offense as well. They will pull guards and run QB draws. They will run jet sweeps. They will run power counters. They will pull guards and pull tackles left and right, always keeping the defense on their toes, keeping them guessing. Misdirection is a constant formula in their offense. However, they are also very good at executing inside zone. So they can run the ball up the middle and punch you in the mouth if they want to. The strength of this team is without a doubt running the football. While the O-line is excellent in run blocking, they do tend to struggle in pass blocking. Pass protection is not their strength. They're big humans, but big humans mean slow feet sometimes, and they do tend to get beater off the edges and get beat on very good moves inside. If you put the Kansas State Wildcats in passing situations, Will Howard has a tendency to make mistakes downfield. He will force throws into coverage. He will throw passes blindly down the field, hoping that his receivers are going to make a play on it. In the last couple of games, he has thrown several picks, including a pick 6 in the Oklahoma State game. It is going to be of utmost importance for Texas defensively to win on first and second down. If Texas can get Will Howard and that Kansas State offense into third and long, they can see themselves having a lot of success on the field. Why? Because Will Howard tends to panic when the ball has to be in his hands, and he knows that he's got to make a play downfield. He is an ultimate competitor, no doubt. With that competitiveness comes mistakes in crucial situations. One thing about Kansas State is that they know what they do, and they do it very well. With that being said, they also know what they are weakest at. So they are going to try and win every single drive, first and second down, getting ahead of the chains, trying to pick up 3, 4, 5 yards per down, right? So Texas's defense in the run game is going to be of the utmost importance. If Texas can force Kansas State to be a one-dimensional pass-first team, they have massive opportunity to be very successful in this game. With that being said, the Kansas State Wildcats are very versatile, as I said, in their rushing attack. There are a lot of different schemes and a lot of different formations they like to run the ball out of, especially when it comes to QB power. And that is something that we know has plagued Texas's defense in the past. They have struggled against mobile quarterbacks. And while Will Howard is not a Jalen Milroe, he's not a Dylan Gabriel or a Jalen Daniels, who we didn't see. He is very serviceable and sneakily athletic in the open field. And if he gets into the open field, he has the legs to burn you downfield. He can take it to the house. Against Oklahoma State, Will Howard had a 71-yard touchdown on a QB power from the empty spread formation. So that's something that we're going to definitely have to key in on. With that being said, knowing their strengths, what are their weaknesses? Well, I think it's very evident what their weaknesses are when you talk about how strong they are running the ball. Their weaknesses are pass protection and throwing the ball downfield. Again, Will Howard loves to force passes into coverage. He sometimes has a lot of trouble reading defenses, and he can be bluffed very easily. So if we can disguise the defense, if we can disguise coverage and make Will Howard have to think and make Will Howard have to break down the defense as the game is going, we have opportunities to be very successful. It is going to be of utmost importance for the defensive line in passing situations to win their one-on-one blocks and get to the quarterback. One thing that we cannot afford as a defense in this game that has happened to us all season long is touching the quarterback and not getting him to the ground. He has got to get to the ground when the opportunities present themselves. So knowing what Kansas State's strengths and weaknesses are as an offense, how does Texas match up defensively? Well, contrary to popular belief, I personally think that Texas has the recipe to be extremely successful against this Kansas State offense. Why is that? We have extremely talented playmakers along our front defensive line. Between Tavondre Sweat, Vernon Broughton, Barron Sorrell, Byron Murphy, and the whole slew of young, talented defensive line players that we have, Texas has the advantage across the D-line. And that's saying something, knowing the kind of talent and size that Kansas State has up front. I still believe that athletically and physically, Texas has the advantage. One thing that we've seen Texas do all season long is absolutely annihilate opponents in the run game. I don't expect Texas's D-line to do anything differently than they've done all year. All year, all they've done is whip everyone's asses up front and win in the run game, win at the line of scrimmage, win their one-on-one battles, get block sheds, and absolutely stuff rushing attacks. Where I think the difference really, the biggest difference in this game is going to be made is in the secondary. For once in the last few weeks, Texas has a complete advantage in the secondary, in my opinion. We have better athletes, we have faster players, and not only that, but we have the advantage up front in the sense that Texas's secondary can play a lot more aggressively, knowing that the D-line is going to do what they do every single week and disrupt the quarterback's timing. If Texas can play aggressive, play up to the line of scrimmage, again, a common theme. Get defensive backs' hands on receivers at the line of scrimmage and disrupt their routes. Texas can have a lot of success defending the pass and allowing their secondary to play very aggressive and help in the run game. The biggest thing I think that we cannot do as a secondary, and I hope to goodness God that PK has watched the last few weeks and is taking note, we cannot play off coverage. There's no need. There is no need. We have the faster players in the secondary. We have the better athletes in the secondary. There's no reason to be playing off coverage against a Kansas State team that we know does not want to throw the football. They want to run the football. Get everybody up to the line of scrimmage and play tight in that box. Make them beat you in the pass game. Make them prove that they have something in the pass game that can allow you to loosen up and let them have some breathing room. In my opinion, they don't have that. As important as the secondary may be in this game, the absolute most important position group in this game is going to be our linebackers. We are going to need the most phenomenal games out of Jalen Ford, David Benda, Mo Blackwell, and Anthony Hill. These guys are going to have excellent games in the run game. Their run fits have got to be on point. They have got to be physical at the line of scrimmage. When they make contact at the point of attack, they have got to be the more physical linebackers on the field. They cannot get reached by these linemen and come up and play soft and expect to have any success. If Kansas State's O-line can beat their one-on-ones, can beat our D-line and get to the second level and block off our linebackers, it can be a huge problem for Texas all day long. Anthony Hill, no matter where you put him on the field, is an absolute hellacious, nightmarish mismatch for any opposing offense, right? I think Anthony Hill is probably going to be one of the most important factors in the entire game. His versatility, his physicality, and the downright dog in him has got to come out all game long. I think that he has got to take over the line of scrimmage. Between him and Jalen Ford, those two are going to have massive games protecting the run and then dropping back into coverage and taking away zones, right? As important as the D-line and secondary are going to be, I think the game is ultimately going to run through the linebackers. If our linebackers can play disciplined, they can play excellent run fit and execute every single down, we are going to have a great game. Kansas State wants to run the ball 40 to 50 times a game. They want to constantly smash you up front so that they can break big plays down the field in the run game. That's just what they're designed to do. That's what they're good at, and that's what they know they're good at. So now jumping to the other side of the ball, how does Kansas State's defense match up against Texas's offense? Well, first things first, what are Kansas State's defensive strengths? Other than physicality and discipline, the Kansas State defense is not very talented. They are mid-level athletes. They're serviceable. They are disciplined. They're hard-nosed, and they're physical. They will do exactly as Coach Kleiman is coaching them to do. However, they are limited, right? They can get beat downfield. They don't have the speed on the back end to keep up with receivers like Xavier Worthy, to keep up with the route running of receivers like Adonai Mitchell. Now, while they are definitely an improved group from last year's Big 12 championship team, they are by no means an imposing group on the field. I think Texas has the offensive weapons to really exploit that Kansas State exploit that Kansas State defense down the field, One thing that Kansas State's defense does do really well, that is going to be the Achilles heel of Texas if they have not gotten it figured out, is they are very good in the red zone. They constantly force teams to take field goals instead of touchdowns. And as we know, Texas is one of the very worst in the country when it comes to punching the ball in within 20 yards. From the 20s to the goal line, Texas is absolutely one of the worst offenses in the country. And as staggering as that is, it is the truth. So it is going to be up to Steve Sarkisian to have come up with an excellent red zone game plan, because ultimately that is where the game is going to be won or lost. When we get into the red zone, we cannot afford to take field goals. We are going to have to score touchdowns. I have to say, I'm a little worried about it. Maybe in the past I would have said I think Sark is going to get it figured out and I think that they're going to do excellent. But we have seen over the course of this season that they just cannot, for some reason, find an identity. And I think that's the biggest problem for Texas, finding an identity in the red zone. Even more important than their red zone defense, Kansas State is one of the pioneers, one of the masters of the 3-3-5 nickel defense. You have 3 down linemen and you have 3 linebackers, almost like in a bubble-ish formation, and it gives them opportunity to cover space with less players. Something that Texas has been really bad against is 3-3-5 defense. The 3 down linemen and 3 deep safeties. They've been bad against that type of defense against teams that don't even specialize in it. Kansas State does specialize in that style of defense. So It is going to be very interesting to see what Sark has come up with to combat that style of defense. If we're being completely honest, I think he's probably taken a good long hard look at Oklahoma State and how they had success against Kansas State's defense. Oklahoma State, they had over 200 yards rushing in that game as well as over 200 yards passing. So with that being said, we know that Kansas State's weakness is in that front seven. Like I said, they don't have very talented players on the back end. They probably have even less talent in the front seven. Their linebackers are serviceable. They are decently athletic, but they're small. Their D-line is very small compared to Texas's O-line. They're going to play physically, they're going to be disciplined, and they're going to give it everything they have, right? Just because they're not the most talented does not mean they have no belief in their team. They have belief in the fact that they can get stops and that they can play with any team in the country. And so far they've shown it. I mean, you got to give it to them. They have shown it. But with that being said, the linebackers in the run game tend to have a lot of problems because that D-line has problems getting off of blocks. The linebackers constantly overrun their run lanes. The safeties are going to have to be forced to run fit in this game, which means that they're going to have to leave players one-on-one on the outside. They're not going to be able to cover Xavier. They're not going to be able to cover Adonai, and they're certainly not going to be able to cover JT Sanders one-on-one. And they like to run man coverage a lot. Now, knowing what Kansas State loves to do defensively, how does Texas's offense match up, and how can they exploit Kansas State's defense and have continued success throughout the game? Well, first things first, Texas has the better athletes on offense across the board. I mean, you name a position, Texas is better offensively than Kansas State is defensively. Probably the most important factor in this game is going to be Malik Murphy. Making his second start with Quinn Ewers injured, Malik Murphy cannot make the same mistakes this week that he made against BYU last week. We need to see him stand firm in the pocket, no more throwing off your back foot, and definitely no throwing the ball into la-la land directly into the hands of defenders and allowing them just to run the ball back all the way down to our 5-yard line. That will get us beat 10 out of 10 times against Kansas State. Malik Murphy has got to protect the football. It is going to be on the game plan to minimize the chances that Malik Murphy has to turn the ball over. Just like what I said last week, in his first start, it is no different. While he has got a week's worth of experience and now he's got 2 weeks as the starting quarterback in this system, we have got to minimize the chances that Malik Murphy has to turn the ball over. The best way to do that, put the ball in the hands of your All-American running back and Jonathan Brooks. Texas has an opportunity to really have an outstanding game rushing the football. Our O-line, while they are huge, they have tended to lack physicality in the run game. Do an excellent job of opening up holes, and Jonathan Brooks is an extremely patient runner, which allows rush lanes to open for him, and why he has been so successful as the season has progressed. But Texas has got to come into this game, and their O-line, our O-line, has got to be 10 times more physical than they have been all season long. This has got to be the most physical and most dominant game the O-line has had all season, right? Because like I said, while Kansas State is not very talented, they are hard-nosed and they will come up and punch you in the mouth. They will throw their bodies at you. They don't care. They want to get stops. No matter how it happens, they're going to try and make it happen. Well, Texas has got to come out with that same relentlessness and that same bloodthirsty attitude offensively that Kansas State is going to try and come out with defensively. I think that getting the football in the hands of Jonathan Brooks and that running back committee is going to be of utmost importance. We need to run the ball between 30 and 40 times. And I know that is against Steve Sarkisian's tendencies, but guess what? What wins football teams big games? When they can break tendency and have success. When they can show opposing teams schemes that they have never seen before. Much like opposing defenses has shown our offense formations and schemes that they have never presented on tape before, we have got to do the same thing to Kansas State's defense. Lining up in that 6-0 lineman package, lining up in the Big 11 and Big 12s, getting our big men on the field to neutralize that 3 down, 3 deep safety look. I think that is what is going to give us the most success. Texas is averaging something like 9 yards a play when they have 6 O-linemen on the field. Get our big tight ends on the field. Let them be physical. Let them dominate the O-line. And let our running backs make the plays that they need to make. Now, with that being said, the reason that we need to have a great game in the rushing attack is so that way we can set plays up downfield. Again, this is a common theme that we've gone back to all season long, and this is just the formula for success, especially with a team as versatile as the Texas Longhorns. You run the ball over and over and have massive success doing it. That is going to get Kansas State's secondary and their linebackers to play tight to the line of scrimmage, to bite on any run fakes, and allow Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell and JT Sanders to get one-on-one opportunities and win downfield. And as long as Malik Murphy can put passes downfield in accurate spots and deliver the ball when and where it needs to be delivered, Texas can really have success in the pass game. Now again, does Malik Murphy need to have 250, 300 yards passing? Absolutely not. But I guarantee we need to have at least 150 to 200 yards rushing if we want to win this game. One thing that we know Kansas State is going to do is run the ball and try and chew up all the clock. Well, when we get the ball in our hands, we need to do the same thing, because unlike Kansas State, we do have the players to make explosive plays down the field in the passing attack. We need to slow the game down and force Kansas State out of the rhythm and the game plan that they want to have. We can have as much of effect offensively as our defense can have against that Kansas State offense. If Texas can slow this game down and we can run the football and force Kansas State to be a pass-first team, we are going to have massive, massive success. Of course, that is going to require Steve Sarkisian to establish the ground game and allow Malik Murphy, when the opportunity presents itself, to take shots down the field. And honestly, I think he's going to do that. He did it last week. Now again, Kansas State's defense is 10 times better than BYU's, right? But the fact remains that even though it was Malik Murphy's first start, Steve did not shy away from what he wanted to do. He took the shots downfield when they presented themselves, and I have full confidence in the fact that he's going to do the same thing this week. Perhaps the most overlooked aspect of the game is going to be in the special teams. Special teams are going to have to come up big, whether that's a punt block, whether it's a punt return for a touchdown or a kick return for a touchdown. We are going to need to set ourselves up with some short field positions. We want to do that on any game, but in a game that is this big, that is of this much importance, and where the stakes are so high, the more opportunities we can get on the other side of the Kansas State's 50-yard line, better off Texas is going to be in the long run. This game is going to be action-packed. I mean, it might be done in an hour and a half because everybody's just going to be running the football and trying to control the clock, but it is going to be a slobber knocker. It is going to be physical. We are going to see some teeth being punched in, some drop kicks being landed. We're going to be seeing some big shots taken down the field, explosive plays, big turnovers. Everything you can expect in a football game, I can guarantee you is going to happen in this Kansas State versus Texas matchup. This is a long, storied rivalry. And just like many of the other games this season, potentially the last time Texas and Kansas State will ever meet. Definitely the last time they're ever going to meet in the Big 12. Potentially the last time they ever meet, period. Right? So Texas, in order to come out with a win against Kansas State and in their final game playing them, they're going to have to be more physical. They're going to have more discipline. And they're going to have to play mistake-free football. We cannot turn the ball over. We can't have 2-3 turnovers in this game. It's not going to happen. If that happens, Kansas State, I can almost guarantee, is going to win the game. We've got to minimize turnovers. If we can stop the run, we can force third and longs, and we can make Will Howard have to make plays down the field with his arm, we are going to have success in this game. While I think that because of the rivalry and the nature of the game, the stakes that are on the line, I think that is going to come in and it's going to be an electric atmosphere, and there's going to be huge momentum swings as the game goes on. Ultimately, I think Texas will get out to a fast start. I think Texas will break away with this game. I'm going to call it Texas gets out of this game 31-20 in a rather dominant victory that maybe not a lot of people are expecting. I think it gets out of hand a little bit earlier than people are expecting, and I don't think Texas ever looks back. Texas has an excellent opportunity not only take down the defending Big 12 champs, but set themselves up in prime position for the final 3 weeks of the season to go and put themselves at the forefront of being in the Big 12 championship. I'm not gonna lie, my heart beats so fast just thinking about the potential that this game has. We are 7-1 on this season. This is our best start since 2009 when we finished the season 12-1 and got into the BCS National Championship. This feels like it has the makings of that kind of season. We can find ourselves in prime position to not only be in the Big 12, but compete for the college football playoff if we can play the brand of football that Steve Sarkisian, PK, and the rest of that staff have brought to the University of Texas. I cannot wait. 11 a.m. cannot get here soon enough, and my goodness, is it going to be fireworks. But alright man, that's all I got for you. If you guys enjoyed this video, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Like the video so we can spread it and get some awareness spread to the rest of the YouTube world. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss an episode and never miss anything we have coming for you. And also, leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think is coming. Who do you think is going to win the game? Who do you think has the advantage? And ultimately, what do you think this game means for the rest of Texas's season going forward? Like I said, if you aren't subscribed already, you definitely want to be. Because remember, no matter where you look, there's no better place than MoBettaSports for your latest football takes. I'm Mr. MoBetta, and I am out. Hook 'em.